with you. Flip a doujin in the bed, I'm reading manga till it's two. Tell me that you love us if I go, I'm knowing that it's true. Cause you acting all moe and vanilla in my view. So this is for them waifus, straight 2D flex in my life, fool. If you fuck with him, tell you my dude. Let the beat right out, keep it nice and smooth, yo. Hello?
We get to start?
Of course.
Cool. Hey everyone, welcome to the Weeabooze, the anime podcast where we get drunk and talk about anime. I'm Kyle.
I'm back. It's Hunter.
Hunter's back. How have you been?
I've been fantastic, actually. I don't have school anymore. I just hung out with my girlfriend for 2 weeks, and
How was that?
that was fantastic. That was absolutely awesome. Everyone got to finally meet her.
It was super cool. She was super cute. Really nice to meet. Glad it finally happened after all this time.
She's
I found out
real.
you weren't lying. You actually have a girlfriend.
She's real. And she speaks English.
So, what are we drinking tonight?
Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA. I believe that this is leftover,
Yep, I had it last week.
but it is good. It is a very nice IPA, and IPAs are very good summer beers.
Yes, they are.
And Arizona has been hitting like 110 recently, so
Yeah,
absolutely
it's
necessary
definitely summer.
for the summer beers.
All right. Well, when it comes to storytelling, music is what has the greatest potential to orchestrate emotion and amplify mood. A good soundtrack has the ability to transform a happy scene into a truly heartwarming moment, or a sad scene into an utterly devastating memory that you won't be able to forget. Because music has the ability to drastically alter our emotional state, good soundtracks have deceived countless people into believing mediocre anime are better than they actually are. Anime predominantly regarded as classics don't use music as a supplementary element. Genuinely good anime have soundtracks that are thoughtfully integrated into the story in order to create atmosphere and enhance the show's existing style. We typically think of style as purely visual, but music is often described with very tangible language. Something can sound sharp, soft, or warm. For example, I refer to Ghibli movies as light, floaty, and whimsical, and those are all qualities that can be said about the music in addition to the art. The qualities of the film mimic the qualities of the music. In the words of Miyazaki, animation and music are equally important. With that in mind, let's talk about a few prominent composers in anime and how their music helped to not only establish an atmosphere, but to complement the artistic style of an anime as well.
Well said.
Thank you. You ready?
Yes, I like exactly when you said that it can make a mediocre anime. I think you used the word seem good.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's basically like the entire plot of Guilty Crown.
Well,
Is
sure.
good music, and then that kind of saved the horribly mediocre floundering plot.
Definitely. So, as a disclaimer, we're going to avoid talking about musically focused anime as much as possible.
So no K-On.
So no K-On, because I feel like that's another topic in and of itself. So that means no K-On, no Bebop, Kids on the Slope, Beck,
I
Lorelei
didn't
and
think that
April, Anthem of the
Bebop-
Heart, Macross, etc.
Bebop isn't focused on music.
It totally is.
I mean, I think that
Each episode is based on a musical style. It's titled after a genre. And you can't think of Bebop without thinking of the music.
right, but that just means that it did really well. It's not the only thing that I can think of without thinking about the music. Like Shingeki no Kyojin, everybody that thinks of it thinks about the opening theme song from the very first episode, or all
Okay,
of
we're
the-
also not going to be focused on openings.
Okay, but anyway, I'm saying what I mean is that I think that if you think about an anime and music comes to mind, that's not necessarily meaning that it's musically focused. Like, I think that Guilty Crown has some of the best music ever, and just because it's, well, damn it, that's the openings.
Correct. Well, let's get into it. I think as we talk about it, you might be able to come to a more clear conclusion about the point you're trying to make.
Okay.
So, let's start with Yuki Kajiura. Yuki Kajiura has worked on music for Dot Hack, Madoka Magica, Fate Zero, Kara no Kyokai, Sword Art Online, and many more. She's known for her ethereal operatic scores involving flutes, chimes, violins, and acoustic guitars. The majority of her music has this eerily beautiful sound to it, making me feel as if I'm in some sort of medieval fantasy or surrounded by Gothic architecture. There's no denying that Yuki Kajiura as well as every other composer we'll be mentioning, is extremely talented. The quality of their work, which is nothing short of exceptional, isn't the issue. The question is, how well does the music work within the context of the anime? I feel like the cute yet dark and foreboding style of Madoka is perfectly intertwined with the spiritual nature of Yuki Kajiura's music. I can't even imagine that storybook-looking witch realm paired alongside any other type of music, whereas I can imagine Sword Art Online having an entirely different musical interpretation. There's a greater lack of harmony between the music and the visuals in Sword Art. The SAO soundtrack is great, but it feels like Kaijura had to adapt her musical approach to be more generic due to the versatile nature of Sword Art Online.
See, with Madoka, I agree entirely. Like the second they walk into the a witch world for the first time, like music is one of the first things that comes to mind with that. Like you see all of this really bizarre stuff, and like the animation of that is so like jarring that the music being the way it is really amplifies that effect. Like if it was silent, or if it had like rocky or like poppy music, it would not have ever had the same effect. And that's really why it's so like amazing the first time you walk in and you get that feeling of, it's jarring. It's just like you don't know it's really new, it's bizarre.
It's, like I said, just amazing at establishing that atmosphere. But what are your thoughts on like her music in something like Sword Art?
Well, when I think of Sword Art, I couldn't tell you a single musical element from Sword Art. I can't even think of the theme song. Apparently the theme song like is pretty good, and a lot of people really like it. Or
I can
the
kind
intro,
of picture
the OP.
it. But I don't think it's done by Yuki Kajiura. I think it's done by
most of the openings, like Mediocre, is done by Claris.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of a single song from the Sword Art like franchise. And after watching Madoka and hearing her style, it doesn't seem like it would fit, and that's why you seem to think it was not a very good fit. She would have to alter her style significantly to make that work.
Yeah, I feel like she had to almost, give up a lot of qualities that make her as unique as she is in order to fit into the action adventure type of show that Sword Art is.
And that's kind of a bummer, because the way Sword Art is laid out, there were a lot of places where she would be able to shine, because I mean every single level, most of them are very different as far as landscape. And they could have created landscapes that would work well with her music, but it seems like they just wanted a big name on.
Definitely. I completely agree. I feel like, I could be wrong, but I do feel like Sword Art came out right after, a few years after, or maybe a year after Madoka. And they were kind of just writing on what was popular at the time. But let's move on. Let's move on to Hiroyuki Sawano. So, Sawano has worked on music for Kill la Kill, Attack on Titan, Guilty Crown, Almost Zero, and many more. Even if you didn't immediately recognize his name, just by hearing the titles of those anime, I'm sure you have a solid grasp on his musical style. His music is heavy, with a mix of rock and orchestral tracks that sound so busy and chaotic that it doesn't even leave you room to breathe. Sawano is dangerous in the sense that the tracks he composes are so epic, for lack of a better term, that it's so easy for anyone to get caught up in the momentum of a scene, regardless of how profound that scene actually is. He is a master at encapsulating intensity in his tracks. So, we could be watching a poorly choreographed fight scene with bad animation, but we'd still think it's hype because of the music. Rather than asking if his style is more suited for one anime over another, let's actually address this concern of being deceived by music. In many cases, a soundtrack is like makeup. It hides all these imperfections and make you believe something is more attractive than it actually is, whereas makeup should be used to accentuate positive features and attractive elements. So what's your opinion on this dude?
I'm definitely one of the people that would be like, led astray by that when you say that it's like makeup and it'll cover up a bad scene or something. But every time I think of his tracks, like when I used to play League of Legends, I downloaded the entire OST of Attack on Titan.
That's good gaming music.
And I would play it, while doing that. And then at times when we would all get together and play like Super Smash Brothers, that's some of the like, if you were gonna listen to anime hype songs or like fight songs,
Yeah.
his are some of the ones that would come up
Easily.
So he's almost like, it's gonna be a horrible
Go for it.
comparison, but like John Williams in the sense that it's very like,
Noticeable?
yeah, it's like, the previous girl, I don't remember the name, but the Madoka composer, it's very like background, like you said, ethereal, like ambient kind of downbeat kind of stuff. But with, what's his name?
This dude,
Sawano. He's like very, you notice the music as it's happening. Every time one of the songs comes on, you're like, fuck yeah, something's about to happen. It's about to get really good now. So I think that it's the same with the John Williams thing. The second the theme or one of his songs comes on, you know that something is about to go down.
Yeah. I mean, we could argue that because it's so noticeable, it distracts. We could argue that it's so noticeable that his sound is lacking diversity.
Sure, but it doesn't matter. Like, you're not gonna hire the dude to write like a fun, whimsical skipping through the flowers scene or something, right? It's like,
sure, but that's exactly what happened with the Madoka chick. They just wanted her, regardless of what she was going to be working on. Right. They wanted her for Sword
That's
Art.
the thing about the name, that people look at the name as opposed to the style. They need to combine the two because, like, I know you might rag on it, but I know that you love seeing fight scenes that are choreographed to music. Like, there'll be like 3 pounding drum beats, like to 3 punches or something.
Sure.
Like, and sure, you might think that it's cheesy or it's like it's covering up, but I really love when all the elements of like a set work together like that.
Yeah. Something we'll get into with who we're going to talk about next is maybe a concern we have with Sawano, which is his music is, so good. He's one of the best anime composers of our modern time, that you can listen to his music without the context of the show.
I do that all the time.
Meaning it may be overpowering. Not
This is a
supplemental.
drink.
Okay, sure. So, but yeah, let's just go right into our next person. Finally, we have Taku Iwasaki. Taku Iwasaki's tracks are raw, dramatic, and diverse. He's worked on music for Gatchaman Crowds, Katanagatari, Noragami, Soul Eater, and of course, Gurren Lagann. Iwasaki's style can be described as anything from pop to electronic to hip-hop to experimental to traditionally Eastern. His major consistency is that the vast majority of his songs include vocals, but even the vocals seem to be drastically different from one another. The anime Iwasaki works on are typically as outlandish as he is diverse, and I can't even begin to explain how inspirational I find most of his music. I think it's due to the diversity that I find it difficult to find instances where his soundtracks feel supplementary. There is so much passion behind his music, and that passion amplifies the artistic style of the show to such a high degree that it makes the work feel whole. The music and visuals are not separate entities. I can't listen to Iwasaki's music independently without thinking of exact moments in certain anime. So, comments on Iwasaki.
So, you mentioned Gurren Lagann, and I know that all of the songs I really like from Gurren Lagann are Shoko Nakagawa. So I'm not sure if he's doing the background music and Shoko is just the vocals and she's credited with them whenever I found them. But if this is the same person I'm thinking of, then yes, these are some of the songs that I had on like a playlist where I would listen to them like while driving or just while hanging out around my house because I love them so much. And every time I hear them, I think of the moments associated with them. And that's a really powerful connection for me. Like whenever I listen to the theme song of something like Kill a Kill, like the OP2 Ambiguous, like I just think of all the times where they used it in the anime, or the Don't Lose Your Way song. Like every single time I listen to that, you get all these like flooding memories of when it was used. So while it might be overpowering in a way, I think that it connects the visuals and the song so well together that if I hear the song, all the visuals are just there.
Right.
And that's amazing to me.
I agree with you. I'm saying with Sawano, with Sawano, it was the opposite. His music is just good and epic, and I could confuse something from Attack on Titan with something from anything else that he's worked on, because they all have that same feeling to it. It's the general feeling of epicness, whereas I can't think of Don't Lose Your Way or any track from Gurren Lagann without thinking of something extremely specific that relates to
And
that
I think
scene.
that's more powerful. I think
Me
that
too.
that's, like, you could say that the video game Halo has some of the best music in the world. This is a drink. We always drink to this, but it's
Sure.
always a drink. Also, Saber's better.
Wrong, but whatever.
But it's all backgroundy. Like, it's all just, it's ambient. It's like pounding drums. It's it's to fit in, to be with the music, with the scene. If I listen to one of the tracks off the Halo soundtrack, they're good, but I can't tell you where in the game that occurred. Whereas if I love hearing a song and knowing exactly what's like happening before my eyes during each piece of the song. So that's my favorite type of music to be added to something.
Yeah, definitely. So there are so many more amazing composers. Yuki Hayashi has been doing a fantastic job and making anime like Haikyuu and Boku no Hero feel incredibly inspirational. Jun Maeda knows how to make you cry with tragic piano pieces from Clannad and Angel Beats, and Masaru Yokoyama.
Like the Angel Beats, like the SOS theme in the intro. I wanted to learn piano just for that shit.
And Masaru Yokoyama knows how to make both funny and touching tracks, as we've seen in his work on Arakawa, Under the Bridge, and Your Lie in April. Soundtracks and animation are surprisingly similar. When done right, your attention shouldn't be drawn to it. If it is, it's most likely overpowering the story. Every component within anime should meld together into creating one single cohesive work. Music is more than an anime's identity. It's what breathes life into a story. Music in anime is such an expansive topic we could and probably will cover it again from several different and more focused perspectives. So any last comments
So
on music in anime?
as someone that you didn't mention, because I think you're holding this only to composers as opposed to artists, but I think that an honorable mention needs to be done out to the J-rock, J-pop band Supercell, because
Sure.
they did the music for a lot of Guilty Crown. And the girl in Guilty Crown, I forget her name, Inori or something.
Yeah, that's right.
She is like in the show, she's like a solo artist, and all of her songs are also done by Supercell. And I think that like those are some of the ones that I will go back. I always listen to the openings. I listen to this, like, she has this really slow song that she sings in the very beginning of the series and a couple more times throughout, and they're just like so just well crafted,
Right.
that they stand on their own. And I think that that's
Well,
exactly what I said I love so much, is when you can think about what's happening in front of you as you're listening to the music, because they're so well connected.
Yeah, maybe we have a lot to talk about regarding music that we didn't cover. Like I said, there's musical anime. You brought up a lot of idols, people who are not composers, just singers and bands almost. So we can definitely break those into two separate episodes for sure. There's a lot. There's so much in music that, like, I would even love to just talk about like a single song in a single scene of a single anime. That's it. That's about it. So before I move on, I wanted to quickly thank all of our patrons, in addition to those of you who share or reblog the podcast on Tumblr. Thank you to Krisa-chan, John Prada, Miyazawa Hibiki, Asta Shaolin, Slan Figma, I can't pronounce this name, it's Nekeuw, Lolita, King Depopolis, Underboob, Mr. Nike 3000, Comic Fan 44, Niflock 83, Clear Love, The Suave Chupacabra, and Nude Love. Also, Lolita said, I loved your episode on Koi no Katachi. Honestly, that was quality content, and there are lots of clap emojis in between words. Listening to it, I felt myself get a little emotional, in part because of the way you talked about it and because it was an emotional, powerful movie overall. Anyway,
It's a movie?
Anyway, I hope in the future you guys can do more episodes like that one. Keep it up. You guys are doing great. So thank you.
That's very nice.
This week's question comes from a YouTube comment. Lei asked, Has anime influenced how you perceive other mediums? For instance, while I was reading a book, I was surprised that I visualized the characters as anime characters, as opposed to realistic-looking people.
That is interesting. I have not read a book, and well, here's the thing. That's
You haven't read a book?
I have not read a book. That's almost cheating. I've never read a book and seen them as anime characters, but it's cheating because I normally watch the movies or I see a trailer for a movie before I read the book.
Okay.
So the actors'
I see.
faces are in my mind as I'm reading for the characters. But as far as like seeing that, that's so interesting. Like it hasn't happened to me, but I wouldn't doubt it if it has for you.
Well, I'm not sure if anime itself has changed my perception on other mediums, but the volume of anime I've consumed has. Because I've watched so much anime, it takes a lot for something to impress me and feel truly original. When I'm watching a movie or a TV show, I always find myself saying, oh, I've seen that before. Like, oh, this is just like that anime. Oh, they copied this scene from that director. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually enjoy piecing together comparisons and influences, seeing what works and what doesn't. I felt like if I read more, I would experience something similar to yourself, where I envision characters in a more anime style. But because the majority of other mediums I actively consume are highly visual, my imagination doesn't warp the pre-existing style of what I'm watching, if that makes sense.
You know, I thought of something. So it said just other mediums. So it does influence music, because now I'll listen to like some hype fucking track, or like I'll like listen to whatever, and I'll think of like an anime opening that would exist to that, or it's like some badass fight scene or something.
That's funny. Now that you mentioned that, I do remember when I was younger. I mean, I haven't done this like lately, but like I used to kind of envision like anime fight scenes in my head to certain songs.
Yeah.
So,
Or
like a mental AMV.
That is definitely
That's
a drink.
So, anything else?
No.
Okay, let's move on to what we're watching. What have you been watching, Hunter?
I'm still watching Boku no Hero and Shingeki. I am
Tell me
happy
about
to
'em.
say I definitely caught up with them, or I stayed caught up with them.
Sure.
I don't know what wording to use.
You are up to date.
Yes, I have been watching them. Of course, there will probably be an episode out by the time this episode releases. But,
Of course.
you know, whatever. So seeing the Shingeki episode, that's what we'll start with after this, like the least climactic reveal in the history of anticlimactic reveals.
Yeah, we talked about it.
It's just I don't know. It's weird that I'm not feeling nearly as much hype as I did for the first season.
Okay.
Is you know, a small way of saying my overarching feel. I'm watching it because I'm interested in what happens, but there's not like exactly what I said. Like when I'm thinking of Shingeki, there's like two moments that I always think back to. It's when Mikasa gets pissed at the very beginning, and she starts like after she thinks Eren died, and she just starts like going fucking crazy to music. And then the second one is when Levi fights the female Titan to awesome music.
Sure.
And there was a big badass fight scene, and I can't remember a damn thing about the music because it wasn't there. And that's like, it takes away from it a little bit from me. And then I also like, I really prefer watching dudes with the gear flip around and slice dudes up than watching Eren in Titan form like fist fight.
Sure.
So having this fight scene be like total fist fight was kind of That's the big moment I remember. I remember the very, very end of the most recent episode. They're all like on horses going to try to save Eren.
Right.
But there was a lot of like expose and like backstory or whatever.
Sure.
Like you get to see. I love Little Mikasa. Little Mikasa is the best, dude.
Well, okay. That was my problem. Like, what's the point of a flashback we've already seen several times? Like, we've seen that before, right?
I don't think we've seen that exactly, but it was trying to like draw a parallel between what literally just happened and what happened in the back.
Like, I guess, but from a tonal perspective, there was
tonal perspective, it didn't make much sense. But I love watching cute little Mikasa, so I don't care.
Oh my gosh, there's no meaning behind this brief happy moment. You know, there was no emotional or plot advancement as a result of it. It felt like filler to me.
And then like two people like random. I do like that Attack on Titan does this. Is like no character's death is meaningful. Everyone's death is like the same amount of like, oh, they died.
Yeah.
Like fucking like one of the like main one of the people that I believe was kind of like sort of a bit, oh yeah, fucking Ymir and the person that they just went out of their way to save, and they're just like, oh no, he's eating them.
Yeah, well, dang. Just another day.
But I mean, yeah, so Attack on Titan season 2 not nearly as hype as season 1.
Okay.
Boku no Hero though.
Boku no Hero.
That is I love seeing like I don't know if you've seen the Avatar series, the Nickelodeon, but that's totally the feel I get with this One for All thing. Is he's like looking on the past avatars, the past One for All users, and they like give him strength.
Oh yeah.
So it's almost like he's gonna have like his One for All form or some shit. So seeing that for the first time, and then having him kind of save himself, and then seeing the purple hair guy not get like, I don't know, like everyone was still super impressed, and he might like become a main bro in the future was pretty cool. Watching Todoroki get pissed off as fuck and like freeze half the goddamn stadium was cool as hell too.
Yeah, and he felt bad about it. He's like, sorry, I was angry.
I know, right? And then watching the Metapod fight with the two hardened dudes.
That was a good one.
That was pretty funny. Those good jokes.
But yeah, next week is
Bakugo versus Urahara.
But you guys will probably have seen that by the time this is
Yeah,
out.
I already know what happened.
So, well, as you guys know, I did watch Koi no Katachi. I won't be talking about it because I released a short episode on that. But, oh my gosh, if you have not seen Koi no Katachi...
So I should go watch it this weekend.
You should if you are, mentally prepared for it. It's very emotional.
I'm fucking prepared.
Okay. Aside from that, I watched Recreators.
How's that?
Well, it's good, but I'm gonna be upset if they treat the fact that the main character had a part in the antagonist creation as some sort of twist, because it's super obvious, and I'm getting annoyed that they're treating it like a mystery. Original anime, anime not based on like novels or manga, are exceedingly rare, and Recreators is easily the best original work this season with a lot of potential. I mean, I would have been praising the series a lot more if it wasn't for that one terrible info dump episode we had back in like episode 3 or 4, because it handles something I love, subtle character depth, phenomenally. It's really great at building these little tiny details about characters from other worlds and how they work, how these fictional characters work in the realm of reality. So that's something I like, and it has so much potential. I'm so upset by that one episode. Once again, Uchiten Kazuku is pretty phenomenal. It's so fascinating and unique. There was a tragic twist of sorts. There was an unexpected death that was very poetic and surprisingly emotional due to the fantastic use of music.
Hey, full circle.
Hey, full circle. Psychono had a really good episode this week. It's a show that suffers at its own hand for being pretty lackluster and generic at times, but...
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
What do you mean? Well...
It suffers from being...
It is a harem. Like, it's pretty much a harem. At the end of the day, that's what you would define it as. That's what I mean. Like, it is inherently the quality of a harem. But Kato is appropriately an amazingly underrated character. There is a lot of convoluted romance occurring due to the nature of the show, meaning our protagonist literally can't make up his mind regarding who he loves. But his flashback of how hard Kato worked on their project was pretty touching and resulted in a cool final scene in the latest episode. I thought it was really impactful. Tsukigakire was sort of sad. The anime basically starts off with the two main characters getting together, but they've been keeping their relationship a secret, and there are other characters who have crushes on them, so both those side characters found out the main boy and girl were going out, and I actually felt bad for the girl who got kind of like secondhand rejected, because I liked her. She was a little annoying, but I thought she was super cute, and I really liked her character. Final thing, do you care if I spoil Samurai Jack?
Nah.
Okay.
But you do have to drink to that, because
Okay.
I'm out of beer already.
Okay. Samurai Jack ended. Spoilers. If you don't want to hear talk about Samurai Jack, see ya. So, it was a pretty stereotypical finale for the most part, seeing all Jack's companions join up and everything. I don't have a problem with that, but I do feel like the internal struggle between Ashi and Aku being resolved by Jack's confession is a cliche that's overdone. Like, as for the very end, and here are some Gurren Lagann spoilers, it was insane how much the final scene paralleled the wedding scene of Gurren Lagann. I felt like I had seen it before, which is why it actually made it somewhat anticlimactic. The ending was very melancholic, and Jack has been trying to defeat Aku for such a long time, but the gratification was lost for Jack to a certain extent because he lost his love. The world is better without Aku, but at a cost, and it almost feels empty now. So I don't mind that about the show, and it definitely made sense, but at the same time, like I mentioned, it was insane how similar, like almost panel for panel, it resembled Gurren Lagann, strangely enough. But if you have any questions or suggestions for episode topics, please don't hesitate to send as many as you'd like. You can send them to myself at Secret Otaku on Tumblr, email us at theweeabooze@gmail.com, or just leave a comment wherever you're listening. Join us on Twitch most Fridays when we record live, and join us on our Discord so you can talk to us whenever you'd like. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon or leaving us an iTunes review if you like what we do. And more than anything, please share the podcast because word of mouth is pretty much the only way we get new listeners. We want to thank Kentaidu for our intro music and Kuwagata for our outro. And like always, get and
Anime.
See you guys next week.
Peace.
You can catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho in that tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze, sacred fire. Don't be mad, I'm lit. Catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho in that tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze, sacred fire. Don't be mad, I'm lit.